Communication is often mistaken as something that happens only through words, but in reality, it reaches far beyond spoken language. Research consistently shows that a staggering 55% of human communication is transmitted through body language, gestures, posture, eye contact, facial expressions, while a mere 7% is actually communicated through the words we use. This means that how a person moves, how they look at others, and the energy they emit often speaks volumes, sometimes even more than what they actually say out loud. The silent signals we give off, intentional or not, carry immense weight in how we are perceived by others. You may have noticed, perhaps more than once, how some people seem to become inexplicably tense or unsettled around you. Their body language shifts. They might start to fidget, glance away, speak more quickly or hesitantly, or seem visibly uncomfortable. What's important to recognize here is that you haven't done or said anything inappropriate or aggressive. You're simply present, simply being. Yet your presence seems to disturb their emotional balance in a way they probably don't even understand themselves. This response often isn't rational. It's instinctual, subconscious, and deeply revealing. This kind of reaction is particularly common when someone encounters a Sigma male, a rare personality type that doesn't fit into conventional social structures. Unlike alpha males, who assert dominance and thrive on being in control, or beta males, who often seek affirmation and approval from others, the Sigma male exists outside the usual ranking system. He is not interested in following rules designed by society, nor is he preoccupied with others' opinions. He walks his own path, values his solitude, and lives with calm, unwavering confidence that isn't loud, but is impossible to ignore. It's this quiet, unshakable sense of self that can cause discomfort in others, even without a single word being exchanged. People may not consciously understand why they feel uneasy around a Sigma, but they feel it. His detached independence, emotional control, and refusal to engage in superficial social rituals can make others question their own behaviors and insecurities. It's not that the Sigma is trying to intimidate anyone. Rather, his presence shines a light on the social masks people wear, the roles they play, and the expectations they conform to without question. In contrast, the Sigma's refusal to participate in these unspoken games becomes both magnetic and quietly confronting. What follows is a closer look into 8 subtle yet profound ways Sigma males unintentionally unsettle those around them. We'll explore the deep, often invisible social dynamics that make Sigma males so compelling, and why their very existence can stir up feelings in others they didn't even know they had. Sigma males are a threat to control freaks. In nearly every social environment, whether at a workplace, a circle of friends, or within family dynamics, there are individuals who are obsessed with control. These so-called control freaks depend heavily on being able to predict and manage other people's behavior. Their sense of stability comes from knowing who fits where, who obeys the rules, and how the chain of command is upheld. For them, life must follow a clearly defined script. Order equals safety, and anyone who doesn't play by the rules becomes a threat to the fragile system they've constructed. Enter the Sigma male, an unpredictable variable who refuses to participate in control game altogether. Unlike alphas, who might directly challenge authority, or betas, who often submit to it, Sigmas take a third path. They simply opt out. They do not conform, nor do they rebel for the sake of rebellion. Instead, they move through life by their own logic and inner compass. This refusal to engage with social power structures throws control freaks off balance. They can't manipulate a Sigma with titles, flattery, or fear. Sigmas don't chase status. They aren't rattled by social rejection, and they're immune to guilt trips designed to enforce compliance. This makes a Sigma male particularly disturbing to those who cling to control. His quiet refusal to obey, his unwillingness to play into power dynamics, reveals an uncomfortable truth. That control is largely an illusion. While control freaks exhaust themselves trying to micromanage others, the Sigma moves freely, peacefully, and independently. And in doing so, he proves that freedom doesn't require dominance. It only requires courage. This effortless autonomy can make even the most powerful person feel suddenly powerless. 2. They speak uncomfortable truths others avoid. In most social groups, a delicate balance is maintained through unspoken rules and polite avoidance of uncomfortable realities. People often tolerate toxic behaviors, selfish actions, and dishonesty in order to keep the peace. Maybe it's the colleague who regularly takes credit for others' work, the friend who only shows up in times of need, or the family member who stirs drama to remain the center of attention. Rather than confronting these issues directly, most people look the other way, pretending not to notice. It's a form of passive denial, wrapped in the name of harmony. But Sigma males are wired differently. They don't get emotionally entangled in the politics of politeness, nor do they lash out with reactive aggression. Instead, they possess a quiet, piercing clarity when it comes to observing the truth. Without fanfare or hostility, they acknowledge what's really going on. If someone is underperforming, a Sigma may simply point out, maybe this should go to someone more dependable. If someone is clearly creating drama for attention, the Sigma won't scold or call them out, but he also won't reward the behavior with attention. What makes this so unnerving is the Sigma's calm delivery. Their statements aren't loud or dramatic, so they can't be easily dismissed as emotional outbursts. Instead, their words cut through social pretense like a scalpel, precise, quiet, and devastatingly honest. This forces those around them to confront truths they work hard to ignore. There is no fight, no shouting, just a stark presence of reality, stated plainly and left hanging in the room like smoke. People can either acknowledge the truth or continue living in denial, but the Sigma gives them no room for a comfortable illusion. 3. Sigma males silence critics by not responding. In a world where most people instinctively defend themselves at the first sign of criticism, whether justified or not, there's something deeply unsettling about someone who simply doesn't react. The average person, when confronted or accused, feels an almost automatic urge to explain, to justify, to prove their worth, even when the critique is baseless or clearly intended to provoke. This is exactly what most critics thrive on: attention, emotional reaction, and the sense of power that comes from disrupting someone else's peace. But Sigma males don't play that game. Their approach to criticism is rooted in internal clarity and emotional discipline. When someone takes aim at them with accusations or mockery, the Sigma listens, not to react but to assess. If the criticism holds a kernel of truth, they'll reflect and quietly adapt. But if it's nothing more than noise, they'll dismiss it entirely without giving it a second thought. No rebuttal, no arguments, no attempt to set the record straight, just stillness and silence. This non-response has a paradoxical power. It leaves the critic suspended in their own words, with no energy or engagement to feed off. The absence of reaction makes their attack feel hollow, even childish. And while others might spiral into emotional outbursts or heated exchanges, the Sigma remains composed, making everyone else's defensiveness look exaggerated by comparison. Over time, critics begin to realize that trying to provoke a Sigma is pointless. Their silence doesn't just ignore the criticism, it invalidates it. It communicates that the Sigma's sense of self doesn't hinge on public opinion, which is one of the most quietly devastating responses a person can give. For Sigma males don't need permission to be themselves. In most social environments, people tend to check for approval before doing something out of the ordinary. Whether it's a bold fashion choice, a career switch, or a personal reinvention, there's often a subconscious need to be validated. People consult others, seek affirmation, and sometimes delay their decisions until they're sure it's acceptable. This need for external validation runs deep, driven by fear of judgment, rejection, or being seen as too different. Sigma males, however, operate on an entirely different frequency. They don't wait for green lights from society before making a move. If a Sigma wants to leave a secure job to pursue something meaningful, he does it. If he wants to relocate, live minimally, or embrace a lifestyle outside the norm, he doesn't feel the need to poll others or justify himself. His choices come from within, guided by personal values and self-reflection, not from trying to match someone else's expectations. This self-authorized way of living unsettles people, not because the Sigma is aggressive about it, but because his quiet autonomy highlights how dependent others are on approval. Watching someone make bold, unapologetic decisions without fear or explanation can trigger a kind of existential discomfort. It forces people to ask themselves, why do I need permission to be who I am? The Sigma male doesn't ask for acceptance. He simply lives authentically, and that authenticity lives so naturally becomes a mirror that reflects just how far others have strayed from their own true selves. 5. Sigma males are comfortable alone, not lonely. In modern society, being alone is often viewed with suspicion or pity. People frequently equate solitude with sadness or social failure, assuming that anyone who spends time alone must be lonely or lacking something. As a result, many individuals go out of their way to fill their calendars with gatherings, parties, and constant interactions, not necessarily because they enjoy them, but because they fear what silence might reveal. The noise of social activity becomes a convenient distraction from introspection. Sigma males, however, embrace solitude with open arms. For them, being alone is not a punishment or a condition to escape. It's a sanctuary. Alone time is when they reconnect with themselves, recharge their mental energy, and engage in deep thinking. Unlike others who dread an unscheduled weekend or a quiet evening, Sigmas often prefer it. They don't require company to feel complete. Their sense of peace doesn't depend on external stimulation, but arises from inner contentment. This calm self-sufficiency can be deeply unsettling to people who rely heavily on social validation. The Sigma's comfort in solitude shines a glaring light on others' discomfort with themselves. Where many fear loneliness, the Sigma finds power. His independence makes the constant need for attention, affirmation, or companionship in others look frantic and desperate by comparison. In his quiet world, the Sigma reveals a strength that many don't even realize they're missing: the ability to enjoy one's own company. 6. Sigma males are nearly impossible to manipulate. Manipulation is a tool as old as human interaction. Whether subtle or overt, it's a tactic used to control others by tapping into their emotional vulnerabilities. Most people, knowingly or not, have pressure points: fear of rejection, desire to be liked, guilt over past actions that can be exploited. Manipulators, skilled in reading these weaknesses, use emotional bait to steer behavior. Guilt trips, backhanded compliments, passive aggression, or fake praise, all are designed to provoke a predictable response. But Sigma males rarely take the bait. They possess a psychological immunity rooted in self-awareness and emotional detachment. When someone tries to guilt them, the Sigma doesn't react emotionally. He calmly evaluates whether the guilt is justified. If he's truly in the wrong, he'll take responsibility silently and make adjustments. If not, the guilt is dismissed without drama. Flattery doesn't inflate his ego. He immediately questions the motive behind the compliment. And when threatened, his reaction is often more calculating than emotional. He asks himself, "Do I even care enough about this to respond?" This level of emotional control is a nightmare for manipulators. Their usual tactics fall flat, and their attempts to control or provoke the Sigma end in frustration. Worse, their failed manipulation becomes visible to everyone else. The Sigma's unbothered demeanor acts like a spotlight, revealing the manipulator's schemes to what they are: transparent, desperate attempts at control. In the Sigma's presence, manipulation not only fails, it becomes obvious. And once exposed, a manipulator loses all power. 7. Their independence is magnetic and unnerving. For many people, the fear of being alone governs much of their decision-making. It's what keeps them clinging to jobs they hate, relationships that no longer serve them, and social circles that drain rather than uplift. The idea of isolation, of having to face life without constant companionship or external reassurance, feels unbearable. So they stay out of habit, fear, and the deep-rooted belief that aloneness equals failure. Sigma males, however, redefine what it means to be alone. Their independence isn't a temporary stance or an act of rebellion. It's a lifestyle rooted in genuine self-sufficiency. They relish solitude, not because they can't find people to be around, but because they don't need people to feel whole. Their hobbies are often solitary pursuits. Their decisions are made without asking for permission, and their sense of direction comes from within. They walk their path with quiet conviction, rarely stopping to ask if others approve. This level of independence can be both captivating and disorienting to those who have built their lives around external validation. There's something deeply magnetic about someone who seems completely at ease in their own skin, who doesn't fear walking alone. But that same magnetism can also trigger a sense of discomfort. Observing the Sigma male forces others to reflect inward and ask difficult questions. Why am I so afraid of being alone? Why do I rely so heavily on others for direction? The Sigma doesn't flaunt his independence. It simply exists, and in doing so, it exposes how many people are prisoners of their own social dependencies. 8. They reject surface-level nonsense. In everyday social settings, much of the conversation is little more than filler. People talk about the weather, gripe about their commute, share recycled gossip, or complain about how much they hate Mondays. Not because these topics matter, but because they're easy, safe, and require no real vulnerability. This kind of small talk creates a sense of connection without requiring depth, but over time, it becomes mechanical and unfulfilling. Sigma males have no patience for this kind of superficiality. Their minds are wired for substance, not spectacle. They're not interested in wasting breath on meaningless chatter just to fill the silence. When someone starts complaining about traffic, the Sigma won't nod in agreement just to be polite. Instead, he might offer a pragmatic solution, like suggesting a change in routine. When gossip begins to swirl in a group conversation, the Sigma won't fan the flames or even pretend to care. He'll withdraw from the noise altogether, either physically or mentally. This resistance to engage in shallow conversation unsettles people, not because the Sigma is rude, but because his silence or depth forces a realization. Much of what we talk about doesn't actually mean anything. His quiet presence can feel like a mirror, reflecting the emptiness of the words people often use to avoid real connection. In the presence of a Sigma, others feel a subtle pressure to elevate the conversation, to bring substance, intention, and thoughtfulness to their words. And for those not used to being challenged in this way, it can feel both refreshing and uncomfortably raw. Conclusion: the quiet power of the Sigma male. Sigma males do not go out of their way to assert dominance, nor do they seek to unsettle or provoke those around them. They don't demand attention, raise their voices, or try to prove anything to anyone. In fact, their entire way of being is rooted in authenticity, living according to their own values, moving through the world on their own terms, and refusing to mold themselves to societal expectations. Yet, ironically, it is this very calm and self-contained nature that can cause such profound ripple in their surroundings. The Sigma male's independence, emotional detachment, and quiet confidence serve as a kind of mirror, one that reflects not who they are, but who others might be pretending to be. In their presence, the facades people wear, the insecurities they try to hide, and the dependencies they're reluctant to admit are all subtly exposed. The Sigma doesn't point fingers or call these things out. He doesn't have to. His mere existence challenges the norms most people have unconsciously accepted. It invites a kind of internal reckoning, a confrontation with a self that many would rather avoid. What makes the Sigma male so uniquely powerful is not aggression or social dominance, but presence. His silence speaks volumes. His detachment reveals what others cling to. His self-sufficiency highlights where others seek approval. He doesn't need to raise his voice to shift the energy in a room. He simply walks in, and suddenly, people feel the weight of their own masks. Whether people are drawn to Sigma males with admiration or keep their distance out of discomfort, one truth remains: their presence changes the atmosphere. They don't need to demand respect. It's given, often unconsciously. They don't seek to lead, yet others instinctively follow. And without uttering a single unnecessary word, the Sigma male leaves a lasting impression, one that lingers long after he's gone. Do these ideas resonate with you? If you found yourself nodding along or reflecting deeply on the traits and experiences we explored in this video, I'd love to hear your thoughts. The Sigma male mindset isn't often talked about openly, and your perspective, whether you identify with it personally or have encountered in others, adds valuable depth to the conversation. Drop a comment below and let me know which part hit home the most for you. Have you seen these traits in yourself or someone you know? Your insights help build a community where authenticity and growth are prioritized over popularity and performance. If you're drawn to this kind of introspective, no-nonsense content around Sigma males, psychological strength, emotional intelligence, and high-value living, there's more waiting for you. Explore the other videos on this channel for deeper dives, actionable insights, and raw truths that cut through the noise. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay sharp, stay grounded, and stay unapologetically real. Until next time.